It's been called the most epic tale of greed, corruption, and drug-fueled insanity to hit the big screen in over a decade. Best Actor candidate Leonardo DiCaprio calls the film a modern-day Caligula. And critics are hailing it as one of the most daring comedies Hollywood has ever produced. Yes, The Wolf of Wall Street is all of that and much more. Once deemed too racy even for Hollywood's liberal R-rating label, Wolf was initially slapped with an NC-17 rating, forcing Oscar-winning director Martin Scorsese to trim many a scene from the original adaptation of Jordan Belfort's best-selling novel based on Belfort's real-life escapades in the early 1990s. The first 3 minutes of the film almost defy description, and the craziness just continues on, bludgeoning the viewer with scenes that literally beg the question, did that really happen? A massive yacht sank, a mandatory no sex zone sign needed in the office restrooms, dwarf tossing. Surely some of this is simply Hollywood exaggerating for entertainment's sake. Yet the hottest buzz in the media today isn't about the drug-fueled deals, the categories of prostitutes the now defunct Stratton Oakmont employed for its young, mostly male staff, or even flying and crashing a helicopter while on a massive dose of Quaaludes. Rather, the real question everyone wants to know is if Belfort really did create a system of selling so persuasive and so teachable that he was able to take industry outsiders, high school dropouts, and people with below-average business skills and near overnight turn them into million-dollar sales machines. Is this so-called straight-line persuasion system myth, or did Belfort crack the code on persuasion? I sat down with Jordan Belfort in his Manhattan Beach home to get the inside scoop. So the real Wolf of Wall Street, I presume?
Yes, I am the real Wolf, although I'm a kinder, gentler version of the guy that's on the silver screen for sure, and certainly a more ethical version, but that is me.
So Jordan, I know you've been asked this question 100 times since the debut of The Wolf of Wall Street, starring Leonardo DiCaprio as yourself, but I just have to ask it again. Was it Hollywood taking wild liberties with the truth? Let's start with this straight-line persuasion tactic that DiCaprio's character uses to turn these no-name, no-talent guys on Wall Street into the hottest brokers. Was that really how it went down?
Well, yes, it's true. The straight-line system was something I created that allowed me to take these talentless dimwits, you could call them, and turn them into world-class salespeople. But in the movie, the only liberty is that they collapse time. They make it seem like, one day I pick up a script and I'm like, with this script, I'm going to turn you guys into the best salesman on earth. And it didn't quite go down there. What happened was I stumbled upon this untapped niche in the stock market, which was selling $5 stocks to the richest 1% of Americans, very sophisticated business owners. And I had tried it myself and was doing it with with little ease. It was very easy for me to do. My junior partner, great sales guy, I trained him. He was able to do it as well. But the 12 talentless, no-name guys, when I tried to teach them to do it, they just simply could not do it. They could not close rich people. And that created a dilemma for me because I knew I'd had this huge market niche, but if I couldn't get the guys to close the sale, what was it really worth? So for about a month or so, I tried every possible sales training tactic known to man. I was about 25 years old at the time, and I was already considered to be one of the top sales trainers on Wall Street. I gave great meetings. I'd read every book. I was a student of the game, and I tried everything possible, from teaching them answers to all the objections to, how to raise your voice, lower your voice, all this different stuff, but they couldn't close rich people. And then one day, after about a month of failing at it, I stood in front of these guys, and you look at the blank faces, and they're all frustrated, and they're getting negative because they can't make any money with the system. And I had this thought in my mind, and it was these magic words, which were, every sale is the same. And I looked at these, I said, don't you guys get it? Every sale is the same. Watch, it's a straight line. And I drew the straight line on the board. And what it really was it was a visual representation of a sale from start to finish. See, what was happening is when most people who, aren't like born closers, right? When they think of selling something, it's almost like there's so many variables, and it's sort of like they meander this way and that way, and there's no real sort of a start, a finish, and sort of a system to do it. And once I took it and applied almost a linear concept, and linear concepts are the easiest to digest and to learn and to master, right? Once I did that, it was just like, it was like magical. The doors blew off the company, and next thing I knew, the 12 talentless guys became world-class closers. They started telling their friends, and people started trickling in from the local neighborhoods, and they started pouring in from all over the country. And just like that, as the movie depicts, the firm went from 12 people to 1,000 stockbrokers, and they were all making millions of dollars. So it was just sort of a timing issue, and that it was not just the script, but it became this fully contained system where, it started, it was a book that kept growing and growing and growing, and ultimately became this sort of very, very detailed way that you could take basically any human being, regardless of their age, their race, their creed, their color, their socioeconomic background, their educational status. It didn't matter who they were. You could take any person, put them through the straight line system, they'd become a world-class closer in a matter of a couple of weeks. So that was a very powerful thing. Now, the mistake I made was I didn't combine that with ethics. I was very young at the time, and I lost my ethical way. And, it happens not all at once, but just a little bit at a time. And I took that one step over the ethical line, and then I was doing things right again. But then once you do that, your ethical line moves a bit. Next time you take that step, it's a bit further still, and before you know it, through these tiny, almost imperceptible steps, you're doing things you never thought you'd do, you're associating people you never thought you'd associate with, and it seems perfectly okay. So that's how this firm just spiraled wildly out of control.
So you're saying there really is a straight line system?
Oh, no, the system, I actually teach it all over the world now to some of the largest Fortune 100 corporations. I teach it to entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople, even moms and pops who are just looking to live more empowered lives. Because at the heart of people say, what is success? And success is a different definition to everybody, right? But let's just talk about in terms of making money for a second. Because I always say, I give seminars around the world, and I say, listen, I've been married a few times. This is not relationship mastery, right? I'm teaching here. This is money mastery. It's how do you make money? How do you close deals? Because at the heart of successful business is really the ability to close the deal. Without that, it's very difficult to make money in this world. It just really is. You could have the best product, but if you can't sell it and market it, how do you really make money? So I teach this straight line system. It's actually a self-contained system that I teach people. And, whether it's, an online business or an offline business, it could be clothing, real estate, car sales, insurance, hotels. I've taught this to pretty much every possible business that you can imagine. And the effects are dramatic. And the irony is, originally when I first, I wrote the book many years ago, The Wolf of Wall Street, which was adapted by the most brilliant screenwriter, Terrence Winter, and he made this amazing script out of it, and then Leo and Marty came. It's an unbelievable situation, right? That was I'm humbled by that. But what happened was, when I wrote that, and I started getting requests from all over the world to teach the straight line system. It was in the book. If you read it, you see what you say, wait a second, how did he do that? He has these 12 people, their IQs, I would say, Forrest Gump on 3 hits of acid, right? So it's not the high end of the intellectual gene pool, yet somehow, in a matter of weeks, I mold these guys from being, basically, people on the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder to the top rung. So it's almost like magical. So I started getting calls from all over the world to come teach the system from some of the largest companies. And at first, I wouldn't do it. I actually said no. I was giving motivational speeches about, about how do you come back from failure, and about, feeling good and trying to sort of live in power lives, but not about selling, because I was nervous that almost like it was such a powerful system that if in the wrong hands, you could hurt people with it. You can manipulate people. You can get people to buy things they shouldn't buy, do things they shouldn't do, and that's not cool. And I was just saying, there's no way I'll teach it. And then I was with Leo one day, and he's like, I think you kind of lost your mind a bit with this whole thing. It's not the system that was, evil. It's what you were doing with it. It's like a gun. A gun could either be evil in the hand of a terrorist, just rifling people away, right, or in the hands of a mom whose house is being invaded by 5 rapists, well, then the gun's a good thing, right? So it's like, a system itself has not the benign and malevolent. It's really the intention of the person using it. And in fact, when I started teaching it, I made people sign disclosure they would never use it for unethical purposes. And to me, once I shifted my message and said, listen, I'm willing to teach the straight line system, of course, my own business exploded, because people love to learn how to close deals, because, that's really a very monetizable thing. You go through the system and your sales go up and it pays for itself. So
you learned that not all selling is evil.
Well, certainly selling itself is not evil. Selling itself is really what, is what makes the world go around. Nothing happens until something gets sold, right? But the real question is what's the ethics behind this sale? And I always say it's very, very simple in my mind. If at any point in time a salesman is putting their own selfish interests before the interest of the person they're trying to influence or persuade, that's when you cross over the ethical line. See, in my mind, applying a little bit of pressure, healthy pressure to someone who could really benefit from what you're trying to sell them, there's nothing wrong with that. Because, see, many people go through life and they're almost blocked from making decisions. They have been taught since they're this big, you know, by their parents and by, you know, don't trust a salesperson, don't do this, you know, always from a fear-based point of view, and they live life with lack. They don't live a life of abundance. So they go through, they might need something, like let's say it's an insurance, let's make up something, like an insurance product, life insurance. They have a family, right? And it's a 35-year-old man. He's got 2 kids, and he should have life insurance, right? But he's so blocked about buying or trusting, he won't make a decision. He's just, you know, he's one of these slow, methodical people, and then all of a sudden, God forbid, he passes away, his family's exposed. So ask yourself this question. If an insurance salesperson who has an unbelievable product that fits all this person's needs, that can protect his family, make sure they're going to be taken care of no matter what, have built equity in the program, get interest, tax, all this stuff, is it ethical for this person to make a very strong case and to persuade this man, say, listen, buddy, I think you're in a bit of denial here? That, to me, is ethical persuasion. The other side of that is when I went off the rails back in 1989, and I'd say, I'm going to sell anybody a $5 stock, whether they need it or not, whether it's good or... That's the other side of that coin. So, again, I think selling is a beautiful, wonderful thing. I think everyone should become a master. And when I say a master closer, I don't talk about a hard-charging, you know, that's not what it's about, pressure sales. It's about learning how to make your ideas, your concepts, your dreams known to other people in a way that empowers them and wants them to take action and get you what you want to. It's a cooperative thing. It's not about you getting what you want and them getting the short end of the stick. It's about 2 people coming together. One person has something the other person needs, and the person who has it being able to fill that need elegantly and help the person, empower them, and make money too. To me, that's what really business is all about.
So you mentioned this straight line persuasion system as being every sale is the same. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. That's really what's at the heart of the straight line, in the sense that, you know, you can look at a sale and approach it in a way where, you know, there's a start and there's a finish, and there are certain things that have to happen along the way. In other words, it's not like some random, bizarre, psychic thing when someone goes from saying, let me think about it, to saying, yeah, let's do it. And that's really what sales, you know, what persuasion's all about. It's not about getting people who say no to say yes. You know, you don't want to get those people. Well, if they want to say no, then they don't want it. That's fine. You should really try to get them out of the equation before you even try to sell to them, those who really aren't interested and can't benefit from your product. But it's the ones who are on the fence, the ones who would say, let me think about it, let me call you back, let me speak to my lawyer, my accountant, the tooth fairy, whatever it might be, right? So in the sense of there's that group of people. And the reason why they come up with these, you know, where they really stalls versus objections is because there are certain key elements that they're really not convinced on. And those elements, they're in every single sale that you could imagine, whether you're selling something that's tangible like a car or a piece of clothing or a computer, or the intangible, whether it's like investing in an idea, okay, where it's not like a product, so to speak, but it's just something that you can't put your hands on. It's the same thing, and those things must line up before someone says yes. So what happened is, and the reason, it was almost like I cracked the code for influence, because remember this movie, The Italian Job? It's a great movie, right? And in the movie, it's about, you know, safe crackers. And a master safe cracker, he's played by Donald Sutherland, and when he cracks a safe, what he does is he actually puts his ear to the safe and he spins the dial and listens for that click. And once he has that click, that's one number to the combination. But does the safe open? No, because there's more than one number, one part of a combination. There's like 3 or maybe 5 numbers. Same thing goes in situations of influence. There's 5 things, there's 5 numbers that have to be hit on before someone's going to say, yeah, let's do it. So that's why every sale is the same, because you have to line up those 5 numbers. What I did with the straight line system is I came up with this sort of a syntax, essentially a formula, a strategy for lining up those 5 core elements the same way every time. What I was doing before I invented the straight line, I was doing it automatically. When you find a great salesperson, which is a natural born closer, like that 1.1% of people, most people just aren't like that, right? They struggle to sell, they're not comfortable selling. Well, they can sell okay, but they're not at the top of the heap, right? Well, if you go to any great closer, they're running a straight line pattern. They're doing that. They're taking those 5 elements and they're sort of cracking that code. So what I did is by taking that, slowing it down, turning it into a system, I was able to essentially to almost implant that into any other person, whether they had natural sales ability or not. And for like an entrepreneur, forget a salesperson, how about just an entrepreneur who's looking to start a business? Well, if you can't sell, if you can't influence, if you can't persuade, good luck trying to get your business off the ground. I'm not talking about just your customers. I'm talking about the bankers, the people with venture capitalists, your vendors, your credit card processor, the people who work for you. How do you get people to work for you excited? How do you get them excited? How do you get them to want to buy into your vision? At the highest level, what sales really is, it's the transference of emotion. And the emotion you're transferring is this emotion of certainty. That someone feels certain, yeah, it's a good thing, it's going to help me, it's going to fill my need. When you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to start a business and you're recruiting people, well, you're selling people on your vision for the future, your vision for this company. And if you can't do that, good luck trying to get great people to work for you. It's nearly impossible, which is why you always see, the people, if they say, oh, he's a visionary. Well, that's true, but typically not only are they visionaries, they also possess the ability to sell the vision to other people, to inspire them, to motivate them. So selling is not just like, people think of selling, oh, well, I'm not a salesman, I don't need to. Well, yes, you do. You need to learn how to influence. How about trying to get your kids to make their bed or do their homework or believe in the value of education? How about trying to get a landlord to give you a reduction on your rent or to extend the lease the way you want? How about trying to negotiate terms? You understand, it cuts to everything. So I always look at this, say, when I say I cracked the code on influence, what I really did essentially was I was, by working backwards almost, by saying I'm going to start at the end and go to the beginning, say what has to happen before someone says yes, I was able to take that and put it into this system that took the no-name, talentless guys and turned them into millionaires. And shame on me for being foolish enough and stupid enough at 25 years old to take the first, $5 or $10 million and think, hey, let me live out every adolescent fantasy I ever had, starting with buying a white Ferrari Testarossa because Don Johnson had one, and going out to the Regent Beverly Wilshire Hotel because Richard Gere had done it in Pretty Woman, and thinking that greed was good because Gordon Gekko had said it. Right now I'm, 50 years old and I know better. Okay, I understand that success without ethics and integrity isn't success; it's failure. So I was forced to start over again. And now I teach things in a very, very different way. The straight line system represents ethical persuasion.
So correct me if this is just rumor, but I understand now you dedicate a portion of your work to protecting consumers in a different way, that is protecting them from the con artists out there. Is that true?
Yeah, well, on a couple of different levels. For instance, one of the things I always say, which is great with the straight line system, is once you learn it, it almost gives you a shield against being manipulated by an unscrupulous salesperson, because you could see it coming a mile away. Even this most subtle thing where they try to use tonality to influence you emotionally, or they try to future pace you, meaning to put you in the future using their product and feeling it. All these things that salespeople do. Now, it's once you realize they're doing it, that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy that process. Because if you need what someone's selling, hey, let them, go ahead, sell me. Tell me why I need this. Tell me why I'm open to it. But I also know when they're full of shit, okay, and they're trying to just pull the wool over my eyes, and it sort of insulates you. So for me, I look at the straight line system as both. It's a sword and a shield, okay? But it's a sword only to be used for goodness, not to hurt people.
So when you say persuasion, what exactly do you mean?
Well, when I talk about persuasion, that's like, it's sort of when I say that it's not just for salespeople. Persuasion is really about, making your ideas, your concepts, your thoughts, your hopes, your dreams known to other people in a way that wants them to be a part of it, that moves them to take action. There's this idea of what is success, how does someone become successful? Well, it always starts with them having a vision for the future. They have this vision of the way they want the world to be. That's not how it is now. Whether it's starts with having a business or a raise or something about a job in their job, then about having a nicer home, more money to spend. And money just meaning to have freedom to do the things they really want to do, to protect their family, to give to a church, a temple, to be generous, whatever it might be, right? But it always starts with you're here, you're somewhere, right, at the present, and then you have this idea of like I see the world better for myself and the people around me. That's my vision for the future. And the question really is how do you connect the dots? How do you go from this place to that place, right? Well, I will tell you this. If you do not know how to persuade people, it is virtually impossible unless you want to hit lotto. You get lucky, you can hit lotto. Or if you remember the Lucky Sperm Club, you inherit it from your parents, right? Well, maybe, yeah, you can circumvent that process. But it's really about seeing the world as it is right now accurately, not worse than it is, but seeing the world accurately, then seeing the world better than it is, and then developing a strategy to get there. And one of the cornerstone strategies for that is being able to persuade, to influence, to make your thoughts known in a way that empowers people and gets you what you want to. You know, most people, and here's the irony, is that most people don't have a compelling vision for their own future. They don't. They move through life setting goals. And goals have no power. We're at this point, you know, goals had power in 1959 when Earl Nightingale came with this idea of goal setting, and everyone's like, wow, I'm a goal-oriented person. And that was great, and it worked for like 20 years. Everyone set goals, and they got results. But then all of a sudden, you know, you set goals, and sometimes you hit them, sometimes you don't. Most times you don't, okay? And that's okay. But goals almost became like a synonym for like, oh, I'm going to set a goal, and who gives a shit what really happens afterwards? And it almost is synonymous with failure now, goal setting. There's something above, and I believe in setting goals, but there's got to be something above your goals, and that's your vision for the future. And it's not just about, it doesn't have like an ending point. It's about the world being a certain way. And that's inspiring to you. When you truly have a vision for your future that inspires you, you're going to jump up out of bed in the morning and feel great about going at life versus being miserable and going to a job you hate or living a life that doesn't empower you and just, you know, every day moving through just almost like an automaton, not really, you know, having the zest and the greatness of life. And I'm guilty. I've been there myself when I felt like I didn't really have a compelling vision for my own future and I felt like I was wallowing. But at least I'm conscious of that. Once you become conscious of that, you can consciously create a vision for your future. It doesn't happen in 1 minute or an hour. You write it down, you work on it when you finally hit on it. You know how you know you got it? When you read it back to yourself, your vision statement, and it moves you and you feel inspired. Okay? And you know, so few people have that, and what happens is every human being is thirsty for a vision. Everyone is. And so few people have one. So what do? They gravitate towards someone who has a vision for the future because they want to be a part of a vision. Part of being a great entrepreneur is having that vision, being able to create the vision, and then sell that vision to other people, to get them to want to be inspired, to buy into it, to put in their time, their hard work, their elbow grease, to help you achieve your vision. If you're a smart entrepreneur, then you spread the wealth around, and it's a win-win for everybody. But it always comes back to persuasion, because if you have the vision, but you know you can't sell it, what happens? You know, you so-called you die with your music still on your lips.
So Jordan, let's go back and talk about the other side of the movie, the drugs, the yacht, the prostitutes.
Oh my God. Well, unfortunately, most of that is true. I mean, the only thing that isn't true is sometimes the sequences, you know, the times are shifted and stuff like that. But I did do that stuff. I mean, I slept with all those prostitutes, and there's a couple of really embarrassing scenes there. And, you know, people would always say to me, how could you write that stuff? How could you, you know, admit to that? And I said, well, you know, if I'm going to really write a memoir that's going to be, you know, real, it's going to be authentic, and it's going to resonate with people, I have to write the whole story. I have to, and, you know, the insanity, and it's meant to be insane. You know, some of the comments, negative comments I got from reviewers sometimes, like, oh, he's reveling in his insanity, like he seems so proud, and nothing could be further from the truth. I am totally not proud of those things I did. I'm embarrassed by some of them, but the idea was to take the reader on a journey into the mind of someone who had lost control. I come from an amazingly great family. My mom is, you know, the oldest woman in New York State to pass the bar. She went back to law school at 64. She became a lawyer at 69. She was voted pro bono lawyer of the year at 76 for doing charity work for people that were homeless. So, you know, that's my mom. My dad, same way, totally ethical guy. You know, my brother, top lawyer in the country. I was not sent out into the world like, okay, you know, you're come from some mob family, or you're supposed to be a grifter. I was sent out in the world to do great things. And I went down to Wall Street, and I really had the best of intentions. And, you know, and I'm not going to blame Wall Street for what happened to me, because there's a lot of people who go to Wall Street and don't get corrupted. But I did. I allowed myself to get sucked into that sort of Gordon Gekko-esque greed is good philosophy. And what happened was, and there was some, you know, some things with timing where the market crashed, when I first became a stockbroker, and then there was a shakeup in the market. And then I had that ability to sell. And that was really what set me apart from pretty much all other brokers. I could just outsell them all. And then when I hit on the ability to actually train others to do the same, and there's a big difference there. Like I always say, sometimes the best athletes aren't the best coaches. They suck at coaching, right? Well, for me, I would say, I'm a really good salesman. I won't deny that I am. Okay, so I could say that not to be conceited because people know that about me. But I will tell you this: I'm a 10 times better sales trainer than I am at even selling myself, and I enjoy training salesmen. I love taking someone. It turns me on. I am empowered by it, by taking people who are having trouble in their own lives. They're not successful, and showing them how to become successful by essentially giving them this gift of persuasion. It's a gift that you give to yourself, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. And once you have it, it never goes away. The kids that I trained, all these no-name, talentless kids, you know what? They all became, not all is a tough word, but 95+% of them went on to become very, very successful in all sorts of business. Some of them, one owns an airline, one of them is a medical. They're all, they're very successful. So once you learn the sort of the art, the power of persuasion, it stays with you forever. And then it's up to you to make sure that you don't lose your morality, because it's a powerful thing to have. Once you master let me go back, forget master. Once you become even reasonably proficient, you don't even have to be a master. Once you even become good at it, you can actually manipulate people. You can get people to do things they shouldn't do. And shame on you if you do that, because it won't last. It's not sustainable. In other words, you can do it, but any success you have will be short-lived. The idea is to be giving massive value to people. This is this equation that I just completely missed out on when I was 26 years old. I thought business was about making money, and it's not. Business is about giving value and monetizing that value. That's what business is about. You start a business because you have something that's great, that's worth something. The business is how you monetize that. You get to spread that out and then get dollars in exchange for your value. If there's no value underneath the business, it's built on sand. It's not a foundation, won't last. So that was, and I had to learn the hard way, and I lost everything. And when I went to jail and I wrote these books, I never thought that this would happen. And I gave away all the money from this, probably going to make, God knows, $20, $30, $40 million on ththese books in the next couple of years. That money's, I'm not making a penny of that. All that money's going back to investors. I don't know if there's anyone left. I mean, most people got paid back. Because it's kind of weird. No one knows if there's anyone left. It's this bizarre thing, U.S. government, right? So no one could really tell me how many people really are left that haven't been paid. But whatever it is, I'm not making any money on this because I didn't want to make money on my past life. But what I do say is this, that when you look at anyone's life and you want to model someone, you want to learn from them, don't model every aspect of them. I get probably 50 emails a day on the low side. 48 of them are amazingly great. I went through your course, or I bought the straight line system online from you, and it's changed my life. I've done this. Then I get this one idiotic moron. Oh, Wolf, let's do some lewds together, or let's go bang hookers, or let's go rip you. That's idiotic, okay? If you go to the movie and watch this movie, you need to understand that, there's some of the stuff in there that's amazing. As you watch a guy who had no money, hit on an idea of training people and build this amazing thing. But this thing about, all the hookers I slept with and all the cocaine I snorted, frankly, I'm lucky I'm still alive. It's by the grace of God I'm still alive, okay? And if I wouldn't have gotten caught, okay, by this Agent Coleman, who's a real, he plays, it's Agent Denham in the movie, but it's Agent Coleman, who's a friend of mine now. We speak all the time, and by the prosecutors, I've given speeches at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. So it's in other words, for me, it's important, it's very important to me that when people read my books or buy my system or go to the movie, that they take away the right message. That there are certain things that I did in my life that represent almost like the best of humanity. Building yourself up from nothing, coming back from failure, right? And going for your dreams and not selling for less. And this is something that the worst of all is not looking to give value, letting other people get hurt along the way, becoming greedy, giving into your carnal. But listen, I love sex. Sex is great. Okay, I probably shouldn't have slept with all the prostitutes. I admit that, but I'm not sitting there saying I'm a goody two shoes. I get people are people. We all have the. I think one of Scorsese's gifts is that the reason people enjoy the movie so much is because he doesn't judge. He's like, listen, this is good people do bad things. Bad people do good. It's like you never really can. People are people, right? So I don't want to become this sort of a beacon of drugs are terrible. I mean, listen, some people can smoke pot and they live normal lives. I can't. Okay, doing drugs, and listen, cocaine's always evil. Okay, so but the point is that the movie, rather than being a tale of morality, okay, just remember this: the drugs, that aspect is not something you want to model in your own life. What you want to model is the ability to have an idea and a vision and go for it, not live in fear.
And didn't Leonardo DiCaprio kind of give you a testimony off the record?
He did. No, Leo actually. I think I said earlier about, when I first was going out into the world to speak, I didn't want to teach sales. I says, it's too powerful, the straight line system. If I teach it, people can misuse it. And Leo's like, what are you crazy? Because the things, because we had been through this. Leo in the movie is just, he goes through the straight line system, and it's unbelievable. In fact, the movie ends with a seminar, and I have a cameo, which is great. I actually introduced myself. I introduced Leo as me, and he's giving a seminar to people, and teaching them how to sell using the straight line system, the logos in the back, and that's really, really cool. And Leo is just, I think and this is another interesting point, is that the movie, the script was written 6 years ago. I actually changed the ending of my own movie, because originally it ended with me in jail, the first script. Okay, and I was in jail, and that was the movie. Well, it got delayed for 6 years, and in those 6 years, I built up this really great business with teaching the straight lines. And Marty and Leo were so amazed, they changed the third act. So talk about having a vision for your own future and being able to really, no matter where you are in your life. I don't care if you're at the bottom of your life right now. You're in a spot where you think there's no way out. There's always a way out. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't like I just said, I'm going to go and become a speaker. I had all this negative baggage, negative press, all these things. Is he really rehabilitated? Is he reformed? Does he have some secret angle? All the stuff that I had to overcome. And it wasn't easy, and it wasn't always pleasant. But I had this vision. I knew where I wanted to go, and I worked really, really hard. And at the end of the day, Leo gave me this amazing testimonial where he says, it's my ambition and hard work. It's how I transform people's lives and blah 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 blah. And it was amazing. And then he wrote a letter as well, and it was great for my career. But the amazing part, I think, is to change the ending of your own life story. Now, my life's not over yet, hopefully, but the movie ended in jail. Now it ends with my new business. That's the power of persuasion. I don't care where you are in your life. I don't care how low you've fallen from any mistakes you made. You're not the mistakes of your past. You're the resources and the capabilities that you glean from your mistakes. You get stronger with every screw up if you're willing to learn from them. If you want to dwell on the past and live in your past and live in the mistakes, then you're going to be paralyzed with fear and doubt and everything else, and you're never going to live life to the fullest. But if you're willing to take a good, hard look at the past and say, listen, that was not good. I did it. I'm going to switch to, I see what my mistakes were. I know what I did right, know what I did wrong, and get honest with yourself and learn from those mistakes. If you have this power of persuasion, the ability essentially to take a vision and turn it into reality, your life, I don't care where your life, you can come back from anything. And I'm living proof of that. And I think of those 50 emails I get a day, 48 are good. About 35 of them are just that. I was in a bad spot in my life, and I read your book, or I attended one of your seminars, or I bought the straight line system on the online course, and it changed my life. And to me, that is freaking cool. That's what it's all about.
Hello, I'm Leonardo DiCaprio, and some of you may know that I'll be playing Jordan Belfort in the new film Wolf of Wall Street. Now, what separates Jordan's story from others like it is the brutal honesty in which he talks about the mistakes that he's made in his life. I've been in his company many times, but there is nothing quite like Jordan's public speaking and his ability to train and empower young entrepreneurs. Jordan stands as a shining example of the transformative qualities of ambition and hard work. And in that regard, he is a true motivator.
From Wall Street broker to ethical persuasion advocate, Jordan Belfort now spends his time teaching major corporations, young entrepreneurs, salespeople, and anyone fascinated by the skill of persuasion his straight line system. He also spends as much time as possible away from the spotlight, living a quiet life at home with his family. The wolf may have lost his appetite for drugs and corruption, but he still enjoys the taste of the sale, and he is certainly a lone wolf in that regard. Still hailed as the best sales trainer in the world, Belfort vows to continue his cautionary tale, helping businesses and individuals ethically sell their products and services. I'm Lauren Dorsett.